people, you know, what's going on here? All right? Okay. Sorry for the late start. I know you're clocking right now because you don't want to sit here for about 2 hours like last year, so I give you my word. You'll be out, okay, in a timely manner, all right? I've already been given my marching orders by everyone, including but not limited to my mother, who told me she was going to wait, okay, longer than X amount, because I guess the seats are kind of hard. That's what she said. In any event, okay, let's go. When I was sworn into office, I stated our city had become a tale of two cities. It was balkanized and separated into three neighborhoods, business districts with our city government disconnected from most of all our stakeholders. Well, why? At that time, okay, our nation was under siege by corporate thugs and indifferent politicians in D.C., the resulting of which we had a housing meltdown, a financial sector meltdown, and what did that do? It all coalesced to create a national malaise, which not only affected the nation's economy, but also the state and regional and local economy, and left us polarized from one another. So that's why our city back then, 4 years ago, was balkanized. It was separate. People were disconnected from their government. And at that time, I pledged to create a partnership of all stakeholders to connect everyone in our city, okay, to their city government, and to address their quality of life, their public safety concerns, which the only way you're ever going to obtain economic development, people, as you all know, is if you address your own backyard first. And that comes down, okay, to quality of life. That comes down to public safety. And as the result of that, you plant seeds for employment opportunities, and you attract people to want to come into our community, to want to live, work, and play, and invest. So to that end, I stated that we had a potential to be a model city. And indeed, I think we're on our way. I'm here, with all due respect, to report that this partnership has, in fact, okay, put us on the right path, on the right trajectory, if you will, to becoming a model city. And I stated that as part of this pledge, with this partnership, we need a new paradigm of governing. And that simply means we need to focus on restructuring, reinventing a government that's more transparent, that's more accessible, that's more fair, that's more open, and more efficiently uses your tax dollars at a time when there ain't much going around here, as you're all aware. And by doing that, we foster an interest of people who want to come into our community, okay, and embrace our life, our community. So this partnership is all connected to this new governing paradigm, which is going to give you the following overview for the next couple of minutes. At last year's State of the City, I also noted the mayor holds up a mirror, okay, that we all look into. And what's interesting about that metaphor is that what you see in the mirror depends on what you do in the community as part of the partnership. And what you see in there are the accomplishments of everyone working together for the past 4 years. And I'm very proud about that, and we're going to get into it right now. And the only way we could ever succeed to be a model city and succeed with governing in the manner we have is by this partnership or through this partnership. So I'm pleased to say that, this new partnership has allowed us to manage our government as a business, similar to all householders do. I'm also pleased that for 4 years now, each budget, okay, has been a transparent, accountable, modified, zero-based budget requiring, okay, department heads to justify all of their expenses. Additionally, okay, we have put in a new time and attendance procedure as the result of State Controller's findings, which now avoids overpayment of accrued leave, which historically was a real problem. Also, it avoids the likelihood of fraud perpetrated upon the taxpayers. The cut savings and the consolidation of services, okay, from this new approach to governing have resulted in significant savings on our 2015 budget and all the budgets prior. And I'm very proud of my administration under the guidance of, where I don't see him here if he is here, there he is over there, he's under the letter, John Toohey, our controller, and his staff. His staff, they work very zealous and tireless, okay, in the Treasurer's office. They deserve a lot of credit. It's not easy because you have people, particularly with a snow emergency and snow removal and tickets. People are going in there screaming and yelling about their tickets. It's also tax payment time, people. It ain't a good place to be working, okay, some days, okay, in that office. So, John, your people deserve a lot of credit, and I want to thank you, and under your leadership, we're doing a heck of a job. And because of all this, for 3 years in a row, and for the budget I'm confident next year, we have met the 2% property tax cap. And indeed, we have also, complied with the property tax freeze credit program. And this is all as the result of the hard work of John and his staff, as well as department heads who embrace this new approach to governing and working together and making sure that each expense, has a benefit to the public, to the taxpayers. And this is all notwithstanding, just quickly, 1% of the budget is equivalent to $150,000 of spending. Now, the cap, that means that you get $300,000, as an increase for spending. Think that through. 88 cents of every dollar is unfunded mandate. 88 cents of every dollar is unfunded mandate. 76 cents of every dollar is for personnel. I think in this budget this year, we have approximately a little over between $1.5 million for capital equipment purchases. And I think our debt is about $2 million, which leads me to this. Because of John Toohey's hard work and constantly reviewing our debt, we've restructured the long-term debt to provide that we have a AA- credit rating with Moody's. What that simply means is we're getting free money when it comes to bonding for capital equipment and capital projects. So, good job, John. And again, take into account this is against the backdrop of all those horrible numbers, unfunded mandates, and the costs that we have no control over. So they deserve a lot of credit. There's no question. When I took office, there were 3 union contracts expired. All 3. And I'm very, very pleased that this year's budget has settlements for all 3. 2 out of the 3 unions have ratified the settlements. We have contracts for the Kingston professional firefighters along with the CSEA. The PBA's contract is waiting ratification by their folks, I think, next week. And then the council has to review it as well. I'm optimistic, though, they should probably ratify that as well. So those 3 contracts, I want to say something. The CSEA and the professional firefighters, the union, they deserve a lot of credit. They stepped up and they cooperated and they gave us operational concessions and paid more for their medical, which is really in the best interest, of the taxpayers. And they have, the firemen, for instance, have 24-hour shifts, which have given them, they're using less sick time, it's less overtime. They love going to work. I talked to most of them the other day about it. They're doing more training. They're doing more maintenance on their equipment. They're more productive because of these 24-hour shifts. So in contract negotiations going forward, we have to take a look at very seriously the costs, what the term and conditions mean with respect to operation, how it affects, the bottom line of our budget, and how we have to put in perspective all of that, and negotiate contracts that are in the best interest of not only the employees, but also take into account the taxpayers' responsibility. And I'm very pleased and proud that we did that. And I want to thank again CSEA, Kingston Professional Firefighters Union, Tommy Tiano here, Lieutenant Tiano, and Firefighter Wren. And I know Francis Fegwood, CSEA, thank you. And Barry Rell, if you're here too, Sergeant Rell, thank you for your hard work, with the contract. With respect to our assessor, it's interesting because Mr. Baker, I'm very pleased, and you should be too as taxpayers, what he's done in his office is professionalize. And I've had him meet with prospective investors to try to ascertain what the impact would be of their investment going forward with their taxes. He also is an appraiser. He has saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars in appraisal costs when it comes to the tax certiorari proceedings. And he really deserves a lot of praise there, because up until him, we were paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for the experts when tax certiorari claims were filed against the city. But now, because of his expertise, we've been able to avoid that additional cost. So thank you, Mr. Baker, and his ladies down there. You do a heck of a job. Now, To further ensure that the government, remember, we're talking the new paradigm, restructuring, reinventing, more accessible, fair, open. To further ensure that, we needed to upgrade the city webpage. And if you've checked it out, for what was done, I think they did an excellent job. And Kyle McIntosh, our Director of IT, deserves credit because he was responsible with savings within the existing budget to apply towards that initiative at no additional tax dollars. So we now have this improved, updated webpage, which is very friendly, accessible, linking to various sites, providing information on a regular basis about city initiatives, what's going on in city departments. We have Facebook pages that have been updated as well. So the social media is very involved in ensuring that our government is transparent, accessible to disseminate information accordingly. We also implemented the SWIFT 911 emergency alert system. Some of you have complained that you're getting a plethora of phone calls, and some of you actually have called in and deregistered. But keep in mind, you're not only getting a robocall for a snow emergency. God forbid, it could be to boil your water. It could be some other emergency. So suffice to say, think clearly whether or not you want to deregister, okay, from that free service. And I want to thank Councilperson Ball. I want to thank Councilpersons Brown and Mills here tonight. Okay, those ladies all stayed the course. They worked really hard to ensure that that would be implemented. So thank you very much because the public It's very important, just quickly, it's very important that we did that because there are seniors out there who aren't into social media. A lot of them are. I know I get their calls when I'm on the radio on KNY every Saturday. And suffice to say, okay, you know, some of them still have the old rotary phones, people. So, which is okay. But on the other hand, I think it was Councilperson Ball who was concerned that her father was an example of that. That he would not get the emergency notification. So suffice to say, that was some of the reasoning that we put in that initiative. So we'll continue, just very quickly, in terms of restructuring government to be more transparent and accessible. We have to stay the course and explore opportunities to continue to reduce costs through efficiency, operations, and doing more for less. And that's exactly what we're doing. We have to implement, when feasible, cost savings through improved technology, i.e. including but not limited to equipment for the public works, etc. But the LED initiative that the council just adopted, okay, recently, where we can go forward because that initiative could save the taxpayers approximately $300,000 to $400,000 annually. You're talking about $30,000 a month. So I've already been given authorization, okay, to have a design study for that initiative. And then from that, what happens, okay, is then the specs are developed, it's put out to bid, and then the project is implemented. So I'm very, very, very optimistic that we stay the course. We're going to, in next year's budget, probably have the savings that we're so desperately needing. This initiative, too, by the way, goes back to Mayor Satile. And it's been on my capital plan for 4 years. 4 years it's been on the capital plan. So we're respectfully requesting that the council, with its infrastructure committee, start to get busy. And I know they've had one meeting, and I know Councilperson Mills has been steadfast, but the other two councilpersons, they haven't scheduled meetings, they're not contacting my office for information, and we have a number of projects in this city that need to be done. I'm hoping that when we have the gap study, which is an assessment, Barton and Judas, who are here this evening, to take a look at our infrastructure and then provide a report as to the status of it, will then prod the council committee, okay, to actually act and be more engaged when it comes to, okay, working with the mayor's office to try to deal with these infrastructure projects that go back, in some instances, 5, 10 years. We can't keep waiting. It's just not, it's not right. So we're going to continue to consolidate services quickly. We saved probably about $200,000 between consolidating the register with the clerk's office and also, okay, 911 emergency management with the county and tourism. And we'll continue where we can find savings, be it within city government or with other governments, where we can consolidate our services, have more efficient services provided, and less incurring of costs. So I'm very pleased with that, and that's a partnership we have with County Executive Mike Hine. We got to continue to market our city as a destination, a cultural, recreational, tourist destination. Sales tax, people. You get sales tax from that when people come into your area and they do these different things. Now, we've got to continue to invest in infrastructure and other initiatives which also expand the tax base, deal with health, safety, and welfare, etc. But we have to continue to invest in building and safety and zoning code enforcement, parks, public works, and public safety. First, building and safety. Under the direction of Chief Mark Brown and his building and safety crew, thank you very much. I have to say that we have more responsive enforcement of the building and safety and zoning codes. The same has resulted in more efficient use of tax dollars. I got to say that the dedication of personnel specifically to multiple dwellings, vacant buildings, abandoned property, unsafe and dilapidated, has reaped incredible return in the neighborhoods throughout the city. It's resulted in properties being appreciated in value, their assessments increasing. It's resulted also in interest in those neighborhoods, but what it really results in is empowering people in a neighborhood to want to feel good about their block and want to be able to get out there and be involved so that they all have a stake, okay, in their neighborhood. And the Building and Safety Division, with what you're doing in that area, is fantastic. We hired a bilingual part-time code enforcement officer dedicated specifically to Midtown to help us with the Latino population. It's been very, very successful dealing with those landlords. Block by block, it was started under Mayor Satile, and it's a very, very good program where literally the fire department, other city agencies go from block by block throughout the city and try to assess building code violations, zoning. We even send the dog board now. And it's very successful because it then has a positive impact on each neighborhood and it empowers people to want to take ownership of their respective neighborhoods. We have to also continue coordinating. I see some people from Historic Pres and Landmarks and Heritage, Planning, Assessor's Office, Corporation Council. These other agencies have to be involved, okay? Anything to do with building and safety and zoning, so that we're all working together on the same page to ensure the quality of life and code enforcement and our neighborhoods, okay, are intact. And I'm actually, unfortunately, due to administrative error, the city code lost a provision where we were able to assess an assessment on vacant buildings. Now, that's very important because when you go around the city and you see those vacant buildings just sitting there, no one's occupying them. Oh, they're paying taxes, but they're just sitting there. They're causing blight. They're actually not a fit for that particular neighborhood with what's going on there. So the law allows us to put a fee on that property owner's taxes to get them in the game to occupy it, to use the property that they currently own and are paying taxes for. And it was actually removed from the city code 6 years ago by an error. When I was one of the city attorneys, we picked it up, and we were able to counsel, thank you, because you got it back into law, and I really appreciate the council, people who supported it. Also, if you remember, I proposed last year, it's been very successful, the Unsafe and Dilapidated Building Initiative. And I'm very pleased because the council support passed, at least 7 out of 9 of you did, passed, okay, my request to amend the law so that the executive branch would have enforcement authority, okay, on unsafe and dilapidated buildings. I want to thank the council also because I requested funding for the demolitions, which was received. We've taken down 12 buildings at a cost of only $100,000 and some thousand to the taxpayers. Saved the taxpayers over $100,000 because the property owners or banks paid for the demolition costs. Then on top of that, there were 3 properties that actually are still on the tax rolls. The owners decided to renovate them, okay, after they were hit with the tickets. So in a nutshell, what did this do? Again, it empowers a neighborhood. It attracts people who want to move there. It attracts investment. It makes people feel that they're stakeholders. It increases the value of their property. It increases the assessment helping the city. And in some instances, people over on Garden Street, when we took down that property, they had a block party, okay? Literally a block party. But in some instances, some people, you're laughing, Chief, but you know it's true, okay? But the bottom line is some homeowners couldn't even get homeowners insurance because of the block that they were on. because of some unsafe or dilapidated building. That's not acceptable to do to people. See, Sheriff, we're moving along here. We're moving along, Sheriff. So, basically, simply put, the council, respectfully requested, should continue to invest in code enforcement. And I got to tell the public, when you get hit with a ticket from block by block or from the building and safety or zoning, we're not Dracula, okay? We'll work with you. We have situations where there's seniors, where there's disabled, handicapped people on fixed incomes who are struggling to pay their taxes and who are on fixed incomes of $1,100 or $1,200 a month if they're lucky. And to expect them to automatically, okay, remedy or remediate a code violation, we have to be understanding and work with these folks. So I want to assure the public that even though we're enforcing the code very zealously for the reasons stated, we're also cognizant that people are struggling out there. And if we can help you out by putting off, okay, so we want you to paint your house. Well, you can't do it when it's sub-zero, or you can't do it if you got a broken leg. So you understand where I'm coming from to try to work with people accordingly to that end. Parks. Over 8,000 people a year participate in our programs. Over 50,000 people a year go to our nature center. Phenomenal. And they do it why? Because of the natural beauty. But we have these programs also to ensure our youth and seniors and adults have something to do. Because investing in these programs is more humane and more sincere than investing in jails, probation, okay, and other programs, or other means by which to control people who don't have anything to do. So suffice to say, I'm proud because my administration has invested $1 million in our parks and in our public facilities of providing recreational activities. I'm very proud of that. And we've done everything from putting new bathrooms to new playgrounds. Hasbrook Playground is finally going to be down at JFK. It's a partnership with the Kingston School District. I'm very pleased. Van Buren, new bathrooms, some of them solar-powered, composting. We've got a number of initiatives at Hunt Park, the Hodge Center, capital improvements. Andy Murphy Center, finally. Now, I know Butch Guido probably knows this, not to put him on the spot. But Mr. DeLuca tells a story, okay, every once in a while. I remember my grandfather talking. The auditorium for seniors was a jewel in this city. And Glenn Miller Orchestra played there. Johnny Ray, I don't know, with some of the kids here, but regardless. You had that center that was really an anchor in Midtown. And we have an $800,000 bond, okay, that we're going to be able to use for restoration of that facility. And I know Commissioner we're in the process of putting out to bid, okay, for the design, okay, for that work. I'm also going to free up $100,000 CDBG money, okay, to help with the exterior work so that we can then gain access to the interior work. So we'll do the exterior first. I'm very, very pleased with that, and it's something that's going to be very exciting for the city. Kevin, thank you very much. Gil Feather, he couldn't attend tonight. He was at a rec commission meeting. Oh, is there? I'm sorry, Kevin. Kevin, thank you. You and Michelle. Also, you're next to the Lone Ranger, the commission over there. Ronnie Woods, I want to thank you. I don't mean to single you out, but you've been a tireless, unsung hero of everything to do with Kingston Parks, and I want to thank you for your service. Now, to further reconnect from this partnership, I established several councils. Councils for seniors, council for the arts. I see a couple of the senior members here tonight. So seniors, arts, vets, clergy, ad hoc. And the purpose of these and business, the purpose of these councils is to address their concerns, to engage, to listen, and then to bring back what they would like us to do for their concerns. And the seniors, for instance, I'm very proud because we've done everything from put on barbecues to dances to events to get them around town, buses for events, to intergenerational programs, okay, with the rec department, okay, where you connect seniors with kids with cooking, reading, all kinds of cool stuff. Mike Lemire from Community Action, I don't want to single you out, but I'm gonna. And if Reverend Kelly was here too, Darlene, and the Bruderhof, Johnny Scott, we have put in place at every senior residence complex food pantries because of this senior council. And that's very important. The Arts Council, now with the Arts Council, I see some members over here, right over here. This is exciting too because we've created what's called Kingston 365 because you probably have just about every week or weekend something to do in this community, be it cultural, art, whatever the case may be. And the folks over here in the Arts Council, we meet once a month, just like with the seniors. We've done a number of things. Aside from create the Facebook page, we've also had a biennial sculptor exhibit, which this year the Rear Center's involved, and it's going to be an immigrant story. And I think they're going to be going to various locations in the city, okay, various architectural, historical sites, and try to really capture, you know, the connection to Kingston's immigrant story. You know, this, like what I'm going to call in a couple minutes, Lunch Bucket Kingston. And that's exactly what we are, Lunch Bucket Kingston. And the Arts Council, right now, we had a meeting last fall where we invited 120 arts and tech businesses in the Midtown area, 120. About 70 showed up. Extrapolated out of that were the following. The Art District, which is part of the master plan, comprehensive plan, okay, analysis. Additionally, what was taken out of that was that we want to take, which I see Councilperson Dawson here, we want to establish another Midtown business group that would be separate, but would be connected to the arts. The Arts Council right now is working with Corporation Counsel Wieben, okay, to draft a resolution for the City Council to review and to consider for establishing a council, an arts council. So what we've done is recognize that, like in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, and other national publications have said, Kingston has more artists per capita than any other city outside of New York City. So if we don't recognize who's here, what they do, and arts are more than just the genre of painting. They could be graphics, visual, it could be recording, it could be film production. So you have a variety, a menu, if you will, that our artists, okay, offer, and it does connect to the technology, and it connects to the little technology, 3D printing, and all the other things that are possible. So this Art Council, I want to thank all of you over there. You're zealous. You can wear me down, but it's for good reason. And you're sincere, and you understand that with this vision, it's going to potentially, it should produce jobs. And people don't realize in the arts and technology, Frank Capana, who's not here, over Color Page, for instance, we were talking about this. We could have our kids be involved in different programs, Google or Microsoft or some kind of program like that, and with a certificate, end up being paid a pretty good wage, plus benefits. So there's different, through AT&T or Google or Microsoft or whatever. So the Arts Council is very important as a stimulator, if you will, for economic development, but also quality of life, promote our culture, and literally I want to thank the Art Council for all you do. Very quickly, Live Well. We established the Live Well Coalition, which I see a couple people here are part of it. And what's interesting about this is that we did this to create a collective vision for a healthy city. And to that end, we received awards from President Obama's wife, Michelle, 2 years ago for this initiative. We're doing this in conjunction with Cornell Cooperative, BOCES, Ulster Health Department, Institute for Family Health, and the Health Alliance. David Scarpino, thank you very much. Good friend and supporter, not only of the city, but this initiative. The purpose is to provide our residents with healthy lifestyle choices as to nutrition and as to recreation. So we connect, it's about living well, playing well, aging well, healing well, This group has even met with clergy, seniors, all the stakeholders in this community to try to connect them to living well in our city and what it has to offer. So stay tuned because there's more good things happening with that. Now, I mentioned earlier quickly about the food pantries. I met this week with a group of all food pantries and soup kitchens in the city. Purpose of which was to organize essentially a council. Next meeting, we're putting together a mission statement. From that, we're going to plan a hunger summit. We don't know where yet. It might be at United Methodist, OK, in Clinton. And Mike will talk about this as well. And basically, the purpose of this is to put these folks together to avoid competing with each other for scarce food, resources, and volunteers. For instance, St. James, people don't realize every Sunday, 200 and some people are fed up at St. James Methodist. Reverend Kelly can get 200 a day. Okay? Michael, I don't know what your numbers are right now. People don't realize hunger is a serious problem in this city. And it's incumbent upon us to do something about it. So we started with the seniors about 2-3 weeks ago. Point of praise, I see the Reverend here, okay, their food pantry. There was some additional extra food. It was provided to Ms. Dawson, the council person for Ward 4. She just went over to Henry Street, started knocking on doors. Single women there, okay? Yeah. Because here's the problem. Here's why we want to have a summit. We want to humanize the issue. Because people are very proud. And it's not easy to go into a food pantry and get food. And then when you go in to get the food, how do you prepare it? They don't pick the vegetables out. They don't have the equipment at home to prepare it. So this summit will bring us all together so that we all can work together, avoid the competition, but also have the capacity to really meet the need for those in need. So I'm very pleased with that, look forward. But this came out of, again, the Senior Council. It's just amazing, and that's why I want to thank the ladies who are here tonight. Just very quickly, Public Works, for several years, less personnel, 15 to 20-year-old equipment, given the circumstances. Shippy, you're not here tonight. I know you had a test earlier or something, medical. God bless you. He deserves a lot of credit. He's done a phenomenal job. I was with him the other day, the snow little thing going on there, for 7 hours. 7 hours driving around in the plow. People don't realize what those men and women go through to keep those streets clear. So I want to thank all of them for what they do. We had 20 trucks out on the road, okay, the other day, and they worked 16 hours. So people should take that into account. 2011, Mayor Satile, another good idea he had was the foresight about the single stream recycling. And it's unbelievable because in 2010, we were picking up 10 tons of recycling. In 2015, it's an average of 50 tons per week. Now, what does that mean? That means that we're paying less in tipping fees. Remember those little fees you have to pay with the RRA? It also means that there's no water weight, which increases the tipping fees because they have lids on them. It also means we're keeping the litter off the street. So it's win-win-win. Now, what also Mayor Satile had the foresight to do was to invest in these trucks that are very efficient, that allow us to use less personnel to pick it up, you see. Another thing that Mayor Satile did was the totes. And I'm pleased. The single-stream recycling was complete in 2013. I think in 16, sometime next year, we should be done with those refuse totes that I know most of you are waiting on, okay, your new brown refuse tote. You're going to get it, and it should be by next year. Very good. The council gave me, thank you, $50,000, okay, to pick up an additional 50,000 refuse totes. The capital plans, $25 million of capital infrastructure projects. $25 million in play right now. And Ralph Swenson, I don't know where he is, right here, our engineer, if he is here, deserves a lot of credit. I mean, what Ralph has done, and his assistant, Alan Hayden, and what they provided. Every month, Ralph literally attends finance committee meetings. And I see the chairman of the committee here smiling, Marion knows, and she's shaking her head. And he comes in with massive amounts of information and just sits there and just in a very organized manner explains simplistically all this highbrow engineering stuff. And I got to give him credit. He's diligent, does a good job, and I really can't say enough about him, about his work product and quality. It's incredible. But just getting back to just one point about the RRA. They increased their tipping fees by $100,000 and the cost for sludge disposal, which we weren't anticipating. Now, remember what I said about 15 minutes ago? 1% equals what? $150,000 on the budget? So we got a problem here for the budget next year about how we're going to make up for that. Also, too, we got $10 or $20 more per ton on the sludge. Now, I have Mr. Shoop, Superintendent, Corporation Counsel, Mr. Tui, Controller, and the sewage treatment plant operator, Mr. Winchell, Alan Winchell, preparing a report as to what our options are to offset that additional cost because of the tipping fees being raised for the solid waste and the sludge disposal. And it's no disrespect, but we are all victims of 20 years of mismanagement, okay, of the UCRRA. 20 plus years of mismanagement, and we're now paying for it, and it's not right. A couple things quickly that were environmentally friendly that BPW did. Also introduced the computerized delivery systems for road salt, which means there's less trucks on the road, less carbon footprint. Also a more friendly product that's being put on the road. Essentially, the impacts of this salt use have also reduced overtime as well and putting crews out there on a periodic basis. The new wing plows, you might have seen them. I was watching them work the other day. They're very efficient means to move the snow, and they actually, work better, and it reduces the problems for weather travel for motors and trucks exponentially. Now, all of these initiatives introduced, some of which I stated were started under Mayor Satile, others of which I started or continued, have resulted in savings, more efficient use of your tax dollars, more efficient use of personnel so that we can have them do other work, and also, too, an impact on our environment, which is very important, for all of us, who live here, and for future generations to get the benefits of those particular operational changes which have had a positive impact on the environment. It also brings Kingston in the future. Now, last year people complained about the pay. We put over $650,000 in paving in your streets last year. 650 grand from chips. We put over 5,000 tons, 241 tons of coal patch, it's called. Okay? And I got to give, again, Superintendent Ship credit, because what we also did is we put the Central Hudson's feet to the fire. I see a couple people who live up, or so one of them lives up in Lafayette. 3 years we waited to pave Lafayette. 3 years we waited to pave Merlina. Why? Because Central Hudson had to do work there. So what's historically the city do? Wait till Central Hudson does it. Now, meanwhile, the residents are waiting and waiting and waiting to have their roads paved, which is a hazard and everything else, right? So we worked out with Central Hudson, and Central Hudson agreed, we'll do it. Next year you do your work. You're going to put it back the way we put it in this year. So that's Mr. Shook, and we're a lot more proactive with this paving now, and I think you see the results throughout the city, I would think anyway. So thanks, Mr. Shook, and your staff for doing that. I already thanked him. When I was elected 4 years ago, actually I think my mother was in the car with me that night going someplace. We stopped at the corner of Henry and it was Broadway and O'Neill. And there were about 10 clockers there, 10 people selling drugs. And recognized a couple ladies of the evening. So, we're working. They've been there for a while. Well, we got to make a living, right? God help you. But in any event, it was an alarming scene. And the landscape, literally, I think I counted at one point, there were over 20 or 25 vacant storefronts. Well, I'm pleased to report under the leadership of Chief Tinty that the landscape has dramatically changed. And under the hard work and effort of the PD and personnel, the landscape has changed. But also the landscape has changed because of the citizens and the business owners who are now working and operating on Broadway. And I see one of them here tonight, okay, I don't want to put him on the spot, but that's David Sousa from Roca Flores. David is part of an ever-expanding Latino community who last year, for instance, on his block, where his shop is located, had a cleanup, a volunteer cleanup day. So it's not only because of the public works, the police department, which it is, don't misunderstand me, the good leadership of Chief Tinty, but we're engaging and empowering people and businesses to take ownership of their neighborhoods and their blocks. So you see, I was at a meet and greet quickly with Nina Dawson the other day at First Capital, and a barbershop, you see it on the corner right there. He's got 4 chairs, and what's interesting about this is where he's talking to the owner and his staff, and they're going to have a block party. And at that block party, they're going to give out things to the kids. Like last year, some of you know on Henry Street, I think Marge, you know too, they always have book bag giveaways and stuff like that for the kids before they go back to school. But what's cool about this is that this barbershop employer wants to give someone a stipend like an internship. So to turn them on and promote a career maybe in barbering or cosmetology, whatever. But think about that. You have a business person who's right there wanting to clean up his block and then give back to the community and to his customers and try to encourage them and facilitate something good, maybe even a job. I mean, so I can't tell you, Broadway has changed the landscape. It has to do not only with our employees and our department's leaders, Chief Tinty, but how we've engaged the citizenry there. So it's good stuff. Now, Chief Tinty, I got to give him credit because he is a master when it comes to technology, which allows him to reassign personnel. If you notice, the crime statistics are down dramatically, okay, for the past several years. A lot of it has to do with reassigning personnel. A lot of it has to do with using technology more efficiently. And for all these reasons, we've been very successful. Also, though, the chief has put back on Broadway foot patrols at different times. The bike patrol is back. The Hodge Center now has the Youth Bureau, where we have a little like Youth Bureau, like a little academy for the kids. And I gave out certificates to them, I think it was last fall, okay, for the graduates. It's a very good program for the kids to turn them on about being a police officer, or do something in law enforcement, or do something of a civil service related nature to get them involved in working for government. And it gives them a real good, again, you're empowering these kids. You're trying to get them turned on to education. You're trying to get them turned on to giving back to their community. And that's exactly what we should all be doing, okay, with city funds when we do put them into the Hodge Center for those various programs. Now, we had a forum back in December at the request of the Black Ministers Alliance. And I'm very pleased, it was December 14th, from that forum, we had some people who had serious concerns. And we took them serious, the chief and I. And we went back to the police commission, and we're reviewing the following. We're reviewing our recruitment policy, for one. We're also reviewing, okay, the need and necessity for further training, potentially sensitivity training. We're looking into the body cameras. And then we're also looking into, the chief is going to, he's been doing some research for me, some kind of liaison that will connect, okay, the police commission to the citizens, giving them the assurances that they can talk freely, that they can actually, okay, provide information and work with the police commission, okay, but through the extension, okay, of this liaison. So I have to tell you, I get a phone call from anyone about a concern, and I know the clergy who's here this evening has been an example of this, and some of you. I get your phone number, I give it to the chief calls that individual. At this forum, the chief gave out his cell phone number, okay? His office number. So no one can say that our community is not trying to connect. And I'm also proud because the chief walked with me in 2 marches. He walked with me on January 1st, okay, the Unity March, And then, okay, on Martin Luther King weekend, when the Ministers Alliance put together with the Bruderhof, okay, a Martin Luther King march, the chief was there as well, and was there when we spoke. So thank you, Chief. Now, getting back quickly though, but the cops do more than just fight crime. I get phone calls all the time about what they do and help people with quality of life. I get phone calls from people saying, "Did you know what that officer did? You didn't have to do that." Really? That's the kind of stuff we should be encouraging. Going back quickly to the firemen, I'm remiss. Last year we had a sinkhole, if you recall, up at Frogs Alley, up at Esposito's Ducks. I was up there a couple times, 11 o'clock at night. And the one night, the first night it hit the fan, I got a phone call from the owner at 11 o'clock. So he's, "Where's the chief? Where's the BPW?" Well, little did he realize that the chief was at a call because the rest of the stations were dealing with 12 calls that night, 12 emergency calls. So by the time I got there, the chief was there, Public Works was there. Your guys were taking sandbags and throwing them up against the foundation to stop the infiltration of the water into that man's business. And I seen what they've done. They do more than fight fires. Then we talk about what they do, okay, in the community with goodwill, be it around Christmas time, be it around the senior barbecue they cook, be it around the senior breakfast, okay, every December around Christmas time. So I got to tell you, you do more than fight fires in building and safety, Chief, and thank you very much. And the same thing, Chief, your guys and gals, they do more than just, okay, protect and serve, and I want to thank them for it as well, sir. So, when we now look in that mirror, remember that mirror about 15 minutes ago? I'm on schedule, Sheriff. We're doing all right here. Okay? When we look in that mirror, whatever we see is the result of the partnership. Now, who's in this partnership quickly? Seniors, vets, clergy, people of color, business, professional, trades, okay, and the arts. They're all in this partnership. They're all the stakeholders. They're all in the mirror. We're all working together, okay, to make this a model city. We should all be proud of what we see. Why? Well, we should realize our city is distinguishable from other upstate Hudson River Valley cities. And I'm not going to name them, but we know their problems and we know their troubles. Think it through. We're doing pretty well compared to the surrounding cities, okay, in the Hudson Valley, who are struggling with many, many, many problems that we're already dealing with very efficiently and effectively. But when you look in the mirror, I already talked about this new paradigm of governing, all right, which is to be transparent, accessible, fair, open, and cost-effective, connected, and inclusive. But you also see our city's heritage, be it historical architecture, and that ethnic and racial diversity goes back to the Dutch settling this place in 1652. Think it through. When you look in the mirror, you see we're the state's first capital. You see that we have the oldest intersection in the United States with those 4 stone houses, one of them being the Person House. You see the Senate House where, okay, the New York State Legislature, okay, ratified the U.S. Constitution. You go up to the old Dutch cemetery, who do you see there? George Clinton, first governor of the state, also, okay, a founding father. Old Dutch Church, one of the oldest Reformed Dutch churches in the United States. You put that all in perspective. That's incredible for what we have in this city. And there are people in this city, kids, they don't have a clue, okay, of that great past, that historical, okay, fabric that we have here in this community that people just don't take for granted. And this population, one of the neat things about our city is, and I'm looking around the room, and some of you went to school with my father and my mother. And I'm looking around the room and I'm thinking, some of your parents or grandparents worked with my grandfather in the brick yard or in the sweatshops over on Cornell Street. Yeah. Our population in this city is what sustains us. The diversity of our population, okay, makes us who we are and allows us to deal with the challenges, okay, in the future. So it's something I'm very proud of because I'm kind of like a mutt. I'm Irish, Italian, and Dutch. So And what people don't realize, that lunch bucket charm, we built New York City. Brooklyn Bridge, okay, our cement, our bricks, we did it, okay? We're the ones responsible for it. Don't forget the D&H Canal, okay? So we are literally, if you think about the Empire State and who helped build the Empire State, we Kingstonians did, believe it or not. So we also see in the mirror that natural beauty, right, of the city, which makes us what? A destination. We see a plethora of culture, arts, and entertainment, recreational activities on land and water. We see our Uptown Stockade District, past and present. We see the Broadway Corridor, the Bring Back Broadway project, the connectivity, the Green Line, the BEAT, okay, initiative. We see this expanding ethnic class of businesses and entrepreneurs of color and how they want to give back to their neighborhood and their community. And then we look at the Rondout waterfront with its connectivity, Green Line, cultural, arts, recreational, and deep water port. Here's what we're going to do. From those quick pieces that you see in the mirror, I'm going to break down quickly what we're doing in Uptown, Midtown, and Downtown. You look at Uptown, I've already given you the past. It's historical wonder. You look at the present, what's changed in 4 years? Well, when I was first sworn in, I dare say that there were probably 10 more vacant storefronts in Uptown. What's happened since has been an expanding restaurant, other shops. You have people coming in from Brooklyn, opening up little shops. So you have a real interest and an energy in Uptown Kingston that 4 years ago, it wasn't there. And a lot of it has to do with the good folks at Cuba and Pike. I see John here, Perry from Pike. And I'll tell you right now, Robert Tonner from Cuba and John, they are zealous advocates of the Uptown District. There's nothing that they let go. They want that Uptown District to not only pot for Uptown businesses, but they want it connected to the other business districts throughout the city. They don't want it to be separate. They don't want it to be balkanized. They all want to be one big business district, all working with one another, so that when they have events, we send the buses down to downtown to help the downtown restaurants, to make sure that they can get people to the Uptown events, and vice versa. So there's got to be this partnership. And Cuba and Pike, thank you. I really appreciate it. Just very quickly, in the Pike Canopy, we had gotten authorization, okay, to proceed with a forensic architectural report. I have to tell you, I talked to the Corporation Council. I think we got back to you, John. Just so the public knows, it's very serious. The Pike Canopy today was leaking, and Stella's restaurant had quite a bit of water in its dining room. And this is not the first time in the last couple of years. So I want to thank the council members, particularly the ones who were here tonight, who voted for that authorization for the funding. Because we really have to move very quickly, because it's not fair, particularly when you think about that the folks in the Pike Plan are paying a special assessment, that the folks in the Pike Plan probably contribute to almost a quarter of the city's business tax base. So it's imperative of us to really do something about it, and that's exactly what we're doing. Also, too, we're putting out another RFQ. I'm having a meeting with Mike Hine, County Executive Hine, probably in the next 2 weeks about the parking garage, which I've called the crater in the last 4 years. So the crater, I've had several developers interested in the crater's development. Problem has been parking. So the initial quote has too many parking spaces, and people should know that it costs you $25,000 a parking space for a parking garage. The numbers don't work for a developer. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that parking out of that site, put it down the street. I'll get to that in a second. And the meeting I'm going to have is with Mr. Hine and a prospective hotel operator. Now, for 4 years, I've been trying to get hotels into this city. And the problem is that hotels do not want to come into cities. They want to go near malls. I don't know why I would want to pay $200-300 a night and then go to Starbucks next door or Dunkin' Donuts. But hey, you know, they might be better off going down to your B&B over there, okay, and having a nice breakfast. But seriously, you know what I'm talking about. The bottom line is Kingston needs a hotel. Uptown, we need one downtown. Because we need to attract. We have so many people coming in here with all of these events. I'll give you an example quickly. It's one of the initiatives, the new initiatives. We had a contact here, Mr. Zwiebin did, from the Hudson Valley Film Commission. I can't mention who, but it's huge. The studio and the producer, huge. They needed, I think it was 200 plus hotel rooms. Now, where are we going to get 200 hotel rooms? We don't have them. But think this through. They wanted to come in here for 2 or 3 months and basically, okay, shoot this film down, believe it or not, at a location down in the waterfront. So we really need to get busy and to try to get hotels in here, and that's exactly what I'm doing, okay, with meeting with Mr. Hine, okay, and also, too, with changing the proposal from the one parking garage with the park, because right next to Frogmore, I'm going to put out an RFQ we're meeting on to do for, you know where the Frogmore is right now, the old parent teachers? The idea would be to put mixed use, commercial, residential, parking right there. So you'd have parking there, mixed use. You'd have the parking mixed use, okay, down where the parking garage is, the crater is currently. So the idea would be to shift that down the street so it gives incentive to developers. And we have many incentives for developers, be it tax credits and other things that we're going to offer. So stay tuned for that. People don't realize, I said it earlier quickly, the cultural events uptown. I mean, O Positive, Joe and Kevin, where are you lovable, crazy guys? They're not here tonight. I mean, these guys have taken O Positive and turned it into an international, okay, event, literally. It's just incredible. And basically, okay, they have something going on the West Coast. They have it on the East Coast. They want to use Kingston as the franchiser, if you will. And in the last 4 years of doing this, they provided, I think it's almost $300,000 or $400,000 of free medical care, okay, to artists who come in here and exchange their performances for free medical care. These are artists who don't have insurance, of course, and can't afford medical treatment or care. And what's interesting about this is they've even had meetings with Johnson & Johnson and major pharmaceuticals because there's other states looking at this as a possible model to provide health care for those who can't afford insurance, or the Obamacare initiatives. Quickly, we've got, I said, the expanding restaurant district. I think I counted, I think there were 18, 19? Might be over 20, if you count the little small cafes and the hot dog joint, et cetera, up there. It's about that. We have the farmers market now. It's all year round. When it's not in the street, it's in the Old Dutch Church, which draws thousands of people to this community, okay? And it connects to our local growers and vendors. BSP is becoming a real multi-purpose venue, okay, with some big acts and entertainment. They're doing very, very well right there, all right? We've got little niche tech firms. You've got Rick Dragon at Dragon Search, who's known all over the world. Rick, his company bought the Stavo building, which is right across from where the parking garage is. And actually, it's across from the Herzog's warehouse, which used to be an old hotel. I think it was called the Kingston Colonial Hotel back in the 30s, if I'm not mistaken. So he stayed in Kingston. Cale Kapashian of Evolving Media, another high-end web and also kind of design firm. They both employ probably between the two of them, I don't know, maybe 50 employees. All good paying jobs, plus benefits, real good paying jobs. That's our future for our kids that I'm going to get to right now. So you also have the Catskill Mountain Railroad. I'm glad County Executive Hine, he and I had discussion because what he's done is, I think, is the right thing, and he gets it for what it means for a business district uptown, is that he's proposed the RFQ for at least 2 miles of the Catskill Mountain Railroad line, which they've been using very satisfactorily right now, okay, and been successful on that 2 miles. I've been in contact with those folks from Catskill Mountain. I've seen their business plan. County Executive Hine is waiting for their business plan. We're waiting for some other information. I've had discussion about a hotel at the Kingston Plaza, and I'm going to revisit that discussion, okay, with the hotel operator. So Catskill Mountain Railroad, the initiative is very well intended. There's no question. But they have to get together. The information has to be provided to the public about their financials. They have to show the business plan. They actually have to show that they can do it and have the capacity. They haven't shown who the board's going to be and many other intricacies that are necessary for them to even be able to bid on the proposal. So stay tuned, because I got to tell you something. 3 businesses uptown clocked over $100-some thousand in product and services. Dicing and Hudson Valley Coffee Traders, Dicing sold 13,000 chocolate chip cookies for the Polar Express. And from that, seriously, from that, Dicing's actually created a new cookie for these mass events, believe it or not. And also, to Hudson Valley Coffee Trader, 13,000 cups of hot chocolate. That's serious stuff. Okay? Who's it? Scott with the tents did very well to save on tents. And Mike Juby, he's not here, was responsible for the staging for the events. We did very, very well. This is important because it's jobs for us. It affects sales taxes. But yet again, the caveat, beware, you got to have the information forthcoming for us all to embrace it. And I think that's the problem right now that the county executive has. So stay tuned for that because that's interesting. The 2 rail trails quickly, you got the Washington Avenue going up, 28 out to the Hurley Flats. That's something we're working on with County Executive Hine. You got the other rail trail that will be going from 587 out there, and I'm going to get to that, but the South Wall Rail Trail, which is technically part of Uptown. That'll be connected by the downtown Rondout Trail that I'm going to get to in a second. And what you'll be able to do, literally, is you'll be able to go from South Wall to Rosendale, to New Paltz, to Highland, to the walkway over the Hudson. It's pretty exciting. And Swansea, who's your Director of Economic Development, he tells a story. He was on his bike last year, cruising around on 32, okay, on the trail. And a couple of people were cruising by, and he was like, hey, where can we go get something to eat? Where can we go get a beer? Whatever. And you're only a mile in from Kingston. Go on in there. So it does work. It does have potential, okay, to generate economic development and interest into this community. Broadway Corridor. I'm almost done, Sheriff. Broadway Corridor. I'm on time, man. I'm on schedule. I'm waiting for someone to pull me off. I must be doing all right. Broadway Corridor. It's interesting. What's changed? I already started talking about it when we were talking about Chief Tinty's leadership in public safety, and Chief Brown with code enforcement, and Mike Shook, Public Works. I think the vision's changed. Like I stated earlier with those examples of First Capital Barber, David over at the flower shop. I think the vision's changed with the residents. I think they're feeling like, you know what, you took down King's Inn, you said you were gonna, you use it for community events, okay, you had the farmer's market there, okay, you're trying to do everything you can along the Broadway corridor and stimulate interest and investment. It's just a different vibe and energy. And the projects we have going down there, bringing back Broadway and the beat and the connectivity. Right now, bringing back Broadway is in the design phase and with connectivity. What that means in simple English is that we have funding now finally to rip up Broadway, put in a new streetscape. That includes sidewalks, curbing. That's also going to include the LED light conversion initiative. It also includes to try to make more bike and pedestrian friendly. So you're going to reconfigure that corridor, which is going to have a positive effect on investment. And to that end, I got Joey Deegan here and Bobby Ryan, and they're an example of one of 4 property owners who, because of that proposal and because of the BEAT proposal that I'm going to get into in a second, have invested a significant amount of money in the Ulster Lighting Building. And if you have gone past and you've seen the transformation, it is phenomenal. And Finkelstein, and thank you very much, Joey. Thank you two gentlemen for staying the course and believing in Kingston and believing in the Broadway corridor. Thank you very much. But also, too, there were 3 other property owners, and when you add all 3, you got the Anchor Bar, you know, the new Anchor Bar up there, you got the Art Bar Gallery, which is a really cool little thing going on there. And then we had another investor who bought 672 Broadway by Joey Levine's barbershop up there. Paid $140,000 in cash for it. The idea he has for it fits in nice right there. He wants to put in this little pop art museum, music museum, memorabilia thing. And he used to be a former soccer player with the New York Cosmos. Is it the New York Cosmos? Is that what it is? The Cosmos? Whatever it is. And he's in the International Soccer Hall of Fame. He runs the Women's League throughout the United States. The guy's wild. He has a lot of money. He's interested in Kingston. But I got to tell you something. I'm going fast forward quickly, but he almost didn't do it because he attended a city council finance meeting one night. And for 3.5 hours, he waited to make his pitch. And he watched two councilpersons beat up on the chairman, the chairperson, to the point where he said, enough, I'm going back to New York, and left. I was on the phone with him the next day for an hour, and for an hour with his realtor, begging him to come back, because he's also interested in investing in film production with an idea that I have. You don't want to lose people like this. So suffice to say, I encouraged him, he came back, but he was so turned off by that fighting and that bickering. And that's what I'm here again to say tonight. I'm going to be reiterating it in the next few minutes. It's enough. We have to work together, because by showing that to a prospective investor, they don't want to invest in a community like that. If the government, if the city council amongst themselves is fighting like that, that's not only embarrassing, but it's pushing prospective investors away. And we can't have that. Not to mention our residents say, the heck with this, I'm leaving as well. So take it into account. Now, as part of this connectivity, okay, Mr. Swansea right now is doing a brownfield study and assessment for the Cornell area, where we'll be putting in the Green Line Park, which will connect the downtown through Midtown and then the 587. So now think about this. Our residents in Midtown, who don't have a park, by the way, you have one uptown, you have one downtown, two downtown, and then Point, you have over at Lorne Park, but you don't have anything in Midtown right there. So that entire area will be turned into a park that'll have access not only for walking and biking, but for people to hang out, to have respite, and to connect, and to interact with one another. And it also provide people with safe passage, okay, because if they don't want to go down Broadway with the newly reconfigured sidewalks and everything else, they can go down, okay, in their own little area right there, all right? So you have as part of that, though, the BEAT initiative, which is Business, Education, Art, and Technology. And the whole purpose of bringing back Broadway connectivity, or the BEAT, is to invest in human capital and infrastructure. What's human capital? Education. Well, what are we talking about here? I've got a high school project across the street, $150 million, renovation. We've got a community college, by the way. I spoke to someone from President Cott's office yesterday. Ulster's coming in here in August or September. Yesterday, the chief met with their folks about the police academy that they're putting there from the old BRC. So this is moving. We're investing in human capital. We're investing in our kids, our displaced adults, giving them hope and opportunity, okay, for education opportunities. And through the BEAT, you connect education to art and technology. Technology also includes now 3D printing. As an example, the kids at the Kingston High School got access to a 3D printer, and they designed their classroom, okay, for this pre-manufacturing program. Alcoa gave them $25,000 to design the classroom. They got hooked up with this 3D printer. They designed their own classroom. That's exciting, because what you're doing with this kind of educational program or initiative is you're connecting kids to hands-on learning and applying what they learn, and then preparing them for a workforce, for a job in that particular sector of the local economy that actually is going to provide opportunities, be it in art and technology and healthcare. And to that end, a BEAT includes a program through CDBG money, Community Development Block Grant, where we're going to have the basic social skill program where we help our kids ages, let's say 5 to 12 or 13, with social etiquette. Right on down to making sure that they do their homework, reading a tutorial, right on down to how they respect each other and one another, and right on down to whether they've had food. Because when you have, I think it is, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, when you have like 70% of our kids on subsidized lunches, okay, in our school district. Is it 70, Mr. Shaughnessy, something like that? So, you know, it's incumbent upon us to make sure that our kids are eating at night when they come home. So you've got this program is going to mentor them with an intern, either from the high school or from college. And then what I want to do is that we're going to trying to figure out, I want to talk to David, I want to put him on a spot, and Chuck Corey, and maybe one of the employers over on Tenbrook. I want to use some community development money for 2 Kingston students who would be ready to leave, let's say, college, if they were in an LPM program, or let's say they were in some kind of graphic program or something like that that would be arts related with technology. And the city, through this program, would pony up X amount of money. But then what I want to do is just work out with Frank Flynn, the Chamber. They have through their foundation, the Chamber of Commerce, they have this new internship program. And what I'd like to do is then connect where we give the money, some of it, it's matched a little bit by the foundation chamber, and then a slice from the prospective employer. And try to get a path with an internship program, just singling out these kids here in Kingston who are in a program, ready to graduate. It's something I'll be getting back with you about, along, David, with you and who else? Oh, Frank Flynn from the Chamber of Commerce. Quickly, the Midtown business, we talked about the Art Council, the Art Bridge, we talked about the role of the Art Council, the Art District, what we're doing. Business Association, Nina, we're going to be working on creating to get those folks together. We're going to use you, David, and we're going to use the folks over at First Capital, okay, who are good guys. Again, I mentioned earlier that we have $2 million in investment last year alone in those 4 pieces of property. We've got an $18 million project called Lace Mill, people, over on Cornell. If you haven't seen it, it's going to be a model project. It looks beautiful. Thank God they got another 400-some grand. They were at 1.750 shy. I think he's only about maybe 100 shy now. I'm not sure. I mean, that's going to be an exciting anchor, okay, for the Midtown area. If you haven't already seen it, I'd encourage you to go over and check that out. It used to be an old sweatshop, as you're all aware. UPAC, we're putting money. They're doing portico, facade. They have a capital plan to make it all year round. I don't know if you know it. 6-7 months a year, UPAC attracts about 60,000, 50,000 people. Could you imagine if it was all year round? Could you imagine if UPAC was all year round for the entire city? I mean, it's a no-brainer. So, and they have a $1 million capital plan project that they're trying to undertake. I mentioned UCC, targeted in the fall, high school renovation across the street with the 4 academies. I also recommend that the high school board consider the school board, I've said this publicly, the PLA for the trades, all right, which would save tax dollars in the millions. And I'll get back on that towards the end. And then there's the Health Alliance. And I got to tell you, Mr. Scarpino has been a strong supporter of anything that has to do with moving this city forward. I meet with him regularly. He gives me updates regularly. We're informed. All the appropriate city departments are aware of what they want to do. He's had meetings with the city department heads about the initiative going forward. I want to thank him for his hard work staying in there with the letter, although non-binding, of intent from Westchester Medical, okay, with regard to the affiliate, because what you're going to see here, if this goes, you'll be seeing our city could be a model, not only in all the other things, but in healthcare. You will see potentially, okay, a decentralized medical village going from bricks to mortar and connecting our citizens, our community, through all these different medical provider components, which will have a multiplier effect on all other aspects of the economy as well. And what's neat about this is with the affiliate, my dream and my selfishness is to try from this, raise the bar and have a nurse practitioner, physician's assistant program. And believe it or not, it's not far-fetched, but I know we have to go slow. And the whole idea is for the Health Alliance to get the funding necessary to make the conversion, okay, to one campus, and to do it rightly. And I got to give them credit too. Mr. Dave is actually okay. They have consultants, okay, who are interviewing all stakeholders in this community. Mr. Dave has gone to all the service providers, Lions, Rotary, etc., and explained to them what the objective and the goals are, so that he is constantly engaging everyone in this community, all stakeholders, so that he gets the big picture, so that when we go to the state and we ask them for the dough, we know exactly what our community needs and how it could benefit the community as well. So, David, I want to thank you very, very, very much. Quickly, people don't realize there's 600 employees next door. You're talking $100 million payroll, what, $300 million, I think, is for your something like that. So, and you're talking big bucks that we get from water and sewer fees over there. So it's come on, it's win-win for everyone. There's enough in it for everyone. Okay, Kingston, I don't know. I had 2 developers approach me in the last year for a combination of retail, maybe a restaurant, and housing up on the top, on the second floor. At this point, I'll probably end up with the others I stated earlier, preparing an RFQ just to get that out to see if in fact we have any interest in that site. Right now it's being used as parking for UPAC. We had a farmer's market there. We have the community events there. We even had food distribution. Point of Praise uses it on occasion to distribute food and other things. Some of the other church groups have used it for different events. So it's being used primarily as a community venue, okay, in that neck of the woods. Rondell, finally with the Rondell. Rear Center. If you think about it, everyone probably knows where Spring and Broadway, the intersection, Garrigan Drive, right there. We got that little building right there, the Rear Center, which used to be the Rear Bakery. And when I was a kid, they had these things called, you're shaking your head, they had these little rolls called, we used to call them bumpies. And they were like our own version of a bagel. And they were the most delicious thing you could ever have. You know what I'm talking about, George. They were delicious. But the point I'm trying to make is that that's now a cultural center. And what's neat about that is that it serves as a metaphor. It's a gateway. That part of Broadway was a gateway for all of our immigrants to this city. So Irish, Italian, blacks, Polish, Jewish, all of these folks got together and they worked in bricks, cement yards, they worked in the canals, they worked in the slaughterhouses, they worked in the ice, they worked in all these things together. And the diversity of that population and what Rondout downtown, because people might not realize this, Rondout, with a slice of Wilbur and what's now uptown Kingston, became Kingston in the late 1800s. So what you have is this real grand history of the Rondout, reflecting our lunch bucket ethnic diversity, which has sustained us since the Dutch. And to me, it's very, very proud to just know that I'm a part of that. A lot of you folks in this room are a part of that experience. And to that end, it's been used as a catalyst and energized the business district down there, the cultural expansion, okay, the restaurants, the events that take place down there. So we really are very fortunate because this partnership has tapped into, there's the group, where is she, Rebecca? Over there, the Rondell Waterfront. I want to thank you. I mean, the Rondell Business Group and the Waterfront Association, just like Cuba and Pike, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing down there. Just like Cuba and Pike, I got to thank Rebecca because Swansea's down there, okay, sniffing around, and he had a meeting down there twice this week, right, Greg? And one of them involves potential investment from out of state for something extremely exciting down there in that neck of the woods. So there's so much going on, and because people are now all connected and working together, we get these leads, and we get more focused, so that then we have the capacity to do these great things, okay, throughout the city. So again, thank you, Rebecca. Thanks, Scott, even though he's down in Florida right now enjoying himself. But seriously, it's Steve and Samir and all the folks down there. Nancy, thanks, Belle. All of you were a part of it. Thank you very much. All right, quickly, we got the Irish Cultural Center. Where are the Hibernians? They're not here tonight? The Kerry guys aren't here? I wanted to give them a shout. I mean, they give us the Hooli, they give us St. Pat's, all right? Those guys, okay, have something up their sleeve. It's called the Irish Cultural Center. And they're allegedly going to break ground, they think, this spring. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it. But hey, if you know the Carries, I mean, anything could be happening, right? And I mean that with respect. So that's part of, I mentioned Rear Center. Think it through. You got Rear, then you have ASK, the Art Society of Kingston, which is in the old MPTC building, right there. Then you go down, you have these little galleries, you have some little shops, restaurants. Then you go around the corner, you have the Clearwater Bar. You have the Maritime Museum. And then you have the trolley. And what's going on in the trolley, again, another thing that Swansea's doing is he's involved in a design study for a turnaround of the trolley. So it's kind of neat. It would turn around right in front of Mariners. Don't worry, you'll still have parking, Frank. It's all good. Actually, it's good for you because they can stop right off there. It'll be a stop, a boarding point. They can go in and have a drink and have some food. So it'll be all good for you. But seriously, the design study is to look at the turnaround. We've already put amenities, benches, and other things at the end of the line there in Rotary Park. And Swansea has also, with this, been able to have, the Bruderhof and other church groups along the causeway down there. If you go down there and you walk along the trolley line, you'll see this beautiful view of the lighthouse. But if you walk, we have an 8 to 10 foot trail next to the track. So that connects out now. So it's pretty neat, okay, how we're using the trolley line. And I got to thank Mayor Satile because we got $700-800 grand from thanks Senator Schumer several years ago for the money to refurbish the trolley line. That trolley line, believe it or not, is untapped potential, just like Catskill Mountain Railroad. It's huge, okay, for the waterfront, and we're on it. Swansea, you're working on also a brownfield study as well as GEIS down there. You're working on as well the promenade design. And we had sought funding for the promenade bulkhead, about $1 million, okay, in the last CFA round. We didn't get it, but we got design money. That's a good sign, because if you know anything in the grant world, okay, a prelude usually for the money is, well, you have the design. Okay, well, what is it? Do you have the capacity? So what Swansea's doing with this study is to really, okay, set the stage for the money that we're going to need to expand that bulkhead from Rosita's all the way down to North Street. Now think that one through. I mean, that's a no-brainer if you think about it. It's going to be beautiful. And we're poised, okay, we're seeking that funding. Also, too, we had the Sailor's Cove was AVR Promenade, the Tom Perner project, the mile walkway. We'll know probably in about 2 to 3 weeks when we will be breaking ground at this point. We're in discussion about design, and we're in discussion about many things, operation and maintenance going forward. So just stay tuned with that. Sailor's Cove down there, that was the place where there was an interest expressed in filming, as an example, as a location. So you've got an interest in that. That was just sold, I think, last year, if I'm not mistaken. There's a new owner. And I had conversation with the owner, but apparently his children bought it, and they don't know what they're going to do with it yet. I don't know. But I'll keep you in tune with that. In 2015, quickly, here's what I want to do. Swansea, I want to let everyone know that by restructuring your office, not only have we saved tax dollars, but we've had a more administrative, efficient use of tax dollars. But before I do that and tell you about some of the things I'm going to ask the council to consider, I want to tell people, okay, how sorry I am, and my mom and I, my family, for the passing of Steve Finkel. Some of you may have known Steve. He was the Economic Development Director. Steve goes back to my brother and Mayor Satile. Steve was responsible with my brother for the waterfront revitalization plan. I know that benefited you guys down there, Frank, okay, and Mariners, and the entire Rondout, Nancy. You know what I'm talking about, too. George, wherever he was there. So the bottom line is Steve was a zealous advocate of this city. He loved this city. He worked real hard. He got millions of dollars for this city. He was a good man. He's going to be sorely missed. I worked with him for a year. He then retired, and he went to work as a consultant. And I last saw him 4 weeks ago. I had a meeting with Tom about the promenade. So I was pretty taken back. He had been sick for a while, God bless him. But again, I just want to let everyone know that how sorry we feel and how proud we are as a city and recognize his hard work and what he's done for this city. So the Office of Economic Development, what we want to do is continue the course, but Swansea and I are cooking up an idea, and I know Raleigh's here, Green, our cultural tourist guy, who gave us the slogan I'm going to end with. We want to put together a one-stop shop brochure, and then allow for inserts, like for instance, a one-stop brochure that describes what the assets are for marketing in the city, what the opportunities are, what agencies you have to go to. But then, for instance, take the art district and what's going on over in that neck of the woods. Put in a special little flyer, what have you, in that brochure, an insert, which gives the developer even more information, to consider for investment purposes. So Swansea and I are going to work on that. I know, Raleigh, you're going to be involved in it as well. I'm going to ask the council for just, ladies, I promise, just a couple of bucks. It's nominal. It's not a lot of money for the brochure. And we'll continue, pursuing the grants that we're doing right now. I also have to tell you that I'm going to ask the council to consider as this restructuring, to take a look at how the grants are administered. Because we have $10 million in that Office of Administration of Grants. $10 million. And it's one thing to file the grant application. The initiatives I've been talking about for the past 40 minutes or so, the initiatives, have taken 4 years to potentially put a shovel in the ground. Literally. Once you file that application, once you get the approval, then you have to go through a nightmare in the bureaucracy of the funding agency and sign your life away. And even after you do that, you don't necessarily get the money, okay? So I can't underestimate that we might have to take a look that when it comes to administering these grants, we might have to come up with more special titles, okay, to assist him, okay, with the administration of the grants. It's very important because otherwise you lose. If you don't spend the money within a given period of time, you snooze, you lose, unfortunately. I want to also say as an initiative, okay, with the arts and digital film production, I spoke to Mike Hine. I'm going to follow up in a discussion with Mike Hine. I think we ought to establish between the city and the county an intermunicipal film commission where that when we get these leads, we can actually, okay, target out venue, site, we can link it with the business community, we can make sure the hotels are involved, B&Bs, everyone gets a piece, everyone's pursuing the same thing, okay? So that's very important because people don't realize you have Hollywood production. 5 out of the last 10 films, Sundance, were filmed here in Kingston. 5 out of the last 10, okay, that were given awards. That's very impressive. And the reason why Hollywood's moving to New York and New York's moving upstate, and when you go past New Paltz, is because you get 30 to 35% tax credits, okay, if you qualify for film production. So Hollywood's saying, whoa, we can cut a film here, then we can produce it for a heck of a lot less than what we're doing, okay, in a Hollywood studio or what we're doing down in Manhattan. So I'm trying to put together, because 2 years ago I had an interest with a local company, and unfortunately, he never got the business plan back. So Swansea and I, it's something that I'm going to work very diligently to come up with my own business plan for that, because I have various locations throughout the city. I've talked to the governor's office. There's funding. There's either CFA or Empire State Development Corp monies. There's potential funding. I've talked to Chris Gibson. So this is not something that's out there. And here's the other thing for our kids. It's jobs. And film production involves all aspects of technology and so forth, and graphics. So you're talking about kids adults who could go out and make good money plus benefits, okay, and stay here local as part of that initiative. Additionally, when I wanted the town square, last year we talked quickly about town square, which is an online connected network dialogue between businesses and government officials. And the purpose of this online is to exchange information and ideas about how they can improve their products and their services. So basically, you'd be able to go online as a business person or government official, tap into this, and exchange information back and forth about what you're doing and how maybe they can help you do it better, or you could help them do it better. It's very popular. I think the first place was out in San Francisco, if I'm not mistaken, where it's currently being done. We tried it last year. It just didn't work. They had some chinks in the armor of the system. This year, I believe that they're feeling a little more optimistic about it. Kale Kapashla from Evolving Media, I think, is more optimistic. So we'll see where that goes. Industrial Park, next week in KLDC. First of all, with KLDC, the audits have been very, very good the last 3 years. That's because we put in a committee system, training for board members, ethical disclosure, and an audit process that's pretty rigid, okay, with scrutiny. I'm also involved in pursuing the collection of $1 million defaulted portfolio that we were stuck with. Additionally, the industrial park. I'm having a report done, and I'll present it to the KLDC this month as to what our options are in terms of marketing the industrial park, because people don't realize, for instance, you have Alcoa Industry down here. It's 130 employees. It's a $40 million division of Alcoa Industries. And we have met 3 times, and we were one of 25. We're now down to the 2. It's between us and another town locally. It's a high-end manufacturer from Westchester who was interested in that park. First would come in with 10 to 25 jobs, good paying with benefits. and over a 5 to 10 year period, 200 jobs. And the reason why I'm very confident about their commitment to 200 jobs is because where they are right now, they don't have the space. They're outsourcing their employees. And in addition, what they produce is of a very technical, private, proprietary nature. We're talking potentially security, national security. So they like that site down there. So keep your fingers crossed. We're meeting with them next week for the 4th time. And the purpose of that meeting is to have their engineers and contractors come down to the building and see the pricing that would be necessary to configure the building for that business. So that's the kind of stuff we should be doing. We've had several interested businesses in the industrial park. Either the numbers don't work, or they get a better deal elsewhere because the numbers don't work, or various reasons in their own market, et cetera, et cetera. But this particular tenant is a very solid tenant, and they would occupy the former site that was occupied by Armor Dynamic, who we evicted for non-payment of their loan. And if you remember, Armor Dynamic came in here and sold us a bill that we would have 500 jobs. Well, there were 4 on a good day. And that included the CEO and his VP. So, but in any event, so this is a little more certain. The other thing is, I mentioned CDBG with the programs, the internship, et cetera, with the kids, the Hod Center, Rondot, et cetera. We'll continue with first-time home buyer and RUPCO's partnership. We put a number of first-time home buyers in homes for the first time because of this program and the money we get from the state. These people are also afforded rehab money, for the project. The other thing I'm proposing is community choice aggregation, which basically is a very technical term for our community to be more involved in energy decision making. In simple terms, that would allow us to have a system, a grid, that would connect to the consumer and then offer different energy decisions about renewable energy, sustainable energy, and what does that mean? That means jobs. Because if in fact now you have more control over your energy system, and you're making decisions over what kind of energy system you're going to have, you connect to contractors who offer weatherization, and conservation. You connect to other manufacturers of different technology who help you, mitigate and use alternative energy sources to lessen the costs of your utility bill. So they had a forum here last night, the PSC did, the Public Service Commission. They asked me, and I said, sure. And it was for elected officials. So stay tuned for that. And also as part of that is we're putting together, hopefully, a land bank. We're looking for funding. The land bank would be a partnership with, let's say, RUPCO, the banks, contractors, to take the property, that's now in REM that the city has taken, and then put it out there. Newburgh has one. A number of other cities do. It's very successful in taking that property, and putting it back on the tax rolls and storing up and making neighborhoods, very, very productive and empowering neighborhoods in the process. Urban Agriculture Initiative, Swansea and I are going to get a business plan from our consultant for community development. I don't know if you know this, but do you know where McDonald's gets 98% of the apples for its Happy Meals? Here, Ulster County. So think this through. So they're spending millions of dollars to ship them out to Washington and Oregon to be processed. And then they're shipped back. You can imagine the cost of their shipping, not to mention the impact with the carbon footprint, et cetera. So I'm putting together a plan, and I'm going to send it to McDonald's. And I have people who are interested in investment. I've talked to Chris Gibson. There's money there with USD Department of Agriculture. There's money at the state level for it as well. Mike and I have talked about it extensively. He knows there's funding sources. So this is an idea that might be 50,000 feet, but it's real. And it's very relevant because I don't know if you know this, that in our county, $500 million is the agricultural economy. $500 million. And think about that. The other thing we're looking at with this, it's called value-added produce, as I just stated, but also niche produce, specialty vegetables and so forth that certain restaurants need and they can't get, and they have to go way upstate from the metro market to be able to obtain that product. So stay tuned for that. Vials, if you have any CWA people in here, fiber optics. We have an opportunity to get Verizon. How you doing, guys?
We have an opportunity to get Verizon to do the right thing, to invest in our community with BIOS. But they're not. I do know that corporate's thinking about us as one of 4 locations for that. And I'm in the process with your buddy John O'Malley and some others at CWA to put together a pitch and a strategy. They're going to be part of a council to put together for the trades as well, to advocate that Verizon open up the BIOS market in our city. Why? You have a high school project. High speed you need, right? You got the hospital with things going on next door. High speed you need, right? Okay? 721, the film production, right? High speed, right? Okay? SUNY Ulster, high speed. Yeah, our building too, Debbie. So, I mean, we all need it. And what's really disturbing is that they've made a knowing decision, corporate, to shut us out. They're interested in Beacon. They're interested in Newburgh. It doesn't make sense. Our problem is that in Beacon, for instance, I was told today, they have the switching infrastructure, apparently, in the main house. Our main house over here on the corner of what the heck is it, O'Reilly Street and Broadway. I had an aunt who started as an operator there. God bless her, Aunt Helen. But I mean, the point I'm trying to make is that if you think about it, BIOS, they would have to put a lot of money over there to connect. But what I'm saying is look at the market that they would have because of all the educational and things that are happening in this city. It's a no-brainer. So look forward to BIOS and broadband. I'm working with CWA, and I'm going to, in a minute when I get to the Trade Council idea, that's going to be an opportunity for us to all work together and shame Verizon into doing something for upstate New York and our community. And also, too, it can help us with our franchise agreement is up in 2 years with Time Warner Cable. I like to go to Verizon and say, hey, they got it in 2 years. If you do this in the next 2 years, look what you have. You have the franchise as well as you have the market for the files. Again, no brainer. It's not only about jobs for CWA, it's about your quality of life in terms of education, in terms of health care. It's about health, safety, and welfare. Because what they want to do is replace all this with VoiceLink, this little box that takes the place, of your phone system. Now imagine if you're a senior or someone, who relies on that medical alert. You got a problem on your hands. So for all those reasons, stay tuned. That's what we're going to be doing. Now, homestead, non-homestead, quickly. March 5th, in March, we're going to have a meeting, for myself, Professor Benjamin from CREO, our assessor, the mayor of Albany, and the mayor of Rochester. The purpose of which is to try to figure out a strategy and plan to go to the state legislature to deal with the homestead, non-homestead tax issue. And I know there are business people here. People don't realize that the business non-homestead pay 2% or more than the homestead. However, the recommendation of Dr. Benjamin, one of them is to in 1 year, with a 28% increase, shift. We can't do that because it would be disastrous. Because here's an alarming statistic quickly. We're going to be taking potentially 105 homes in this year in rent. In the last 4 years, it's over 300. That's scary because these are people who you all know, their families who we grew up with, and they're all getting out of it. They can't afford the taxes. And the businesses can't afford it as well. So the state has to do something. There was a lawsuit down in the city. And basically, I think that's going to be also somewhat of a catalyst to get the state into the game here. So stay tuned. I'll let you know after the meeting. Kingston Greater Labor Council. See Mr. Ham here. CWA guys. Purpose of this council is to not only promote PLAs and apprenticeship, and I'm proud because I actually, was recommended that our apprenticeship language was lowered to stimulate more interest in the use of that for various public work projects. The trades live and work like CWA. There are hundreds of them in our community. They pay taxes, they volunteer, their families are involved, in all kinds of activities. So this council, the purpose of it is simple. The council's purpose is to coordinate with other labor groups, but citizens, businesses, professionals, clergy, all the stakeholders in our community, advocate various initiatives. Be it the VIOS, be it a PLA, be it an issue, that might be in our parks. Like, for instance, I asked the trades and my friends Mike and others if they could help out on the Kinderland project. Okay? $200,000-$300,000 new installation at Kindleman up in Forsyth Park. The trades are going to volunteer and help do the installation. That's the kind of what we get, the goodwill we get. And I know CWA does some of the same stuff. So this council is to try to educate people about what their issues are, but to connect them to the community so that they know what our issues are. So that we're working as partners and we're benefiting all as a group. So, when we look in the mirror and we see its reflection, are you better off than 4 years ago? Yep, I would think so, because of our partnership, which is inclusive. Inclusivity, not exclusive. And why has it been successful? We're listening to each other. We're including each other. We're working together. We're cooperating. What does that translate into positive change for our entire community? As I stated, look at what we accomplished. However, the naysayers and the cynics will probably still contend nothing good's going on here, that there's been no meaningful, positive, productive change. To those folks, I say, please become a stakeholder. Please work with us. You can see all the good things we're doing. And to those folks, I say, if you're saying that there's a divided government, I don't know if it's the same one that I'm a part of, because everything I've talked to you about tonight has been embraced by the City Council with 7-2 votes. There is no divided government, Kingston. There might be with 2 out of the 9, but the other 7, they ain't doing it for me. Okay, they're doing it for the entire state. So thank you. So thank you. I really appreciate it. And the public is aware of this. We all know that these council persons don't vote for the public interest. They do for political elites and cronies wanting to do business with our city government and don't want to be bothered with the procurement policy of state law. And to those 7, again, I thank you. Recently, you gave us the LED initiative. It was a 7-2 vote. And I got to tell you, last night the emails were flying from the other 2, encouraging, my office and Mr. Swenson not to pursue what the council gave authorization to pursue. I don't understand this, because there's a committee system. And at the committee level, that's where you deliberate and you give your thoughts as to whether you want to pass legislation. Once it goes out of the committee and once it's on the floor, the only other opportunity you would have to say no is by voting no and explaining why. But after your peers vote for it 7-2, you got to move on. There's really nothing you can do about it. So I can't underscore that we have to work together and we have to up front air our differences. And don't wait until after a vote when we've all worked together, because all that's done, seriously, this vote last night, this week, is very important, because every month we're losing $30,000 to $40,000, of savings, for the LED initiative. That's how important it is. So the partnership, which if they're still saying nothing's going on here, then why are we getting substantial coverage in the Times, the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, Forbes, other national media outlets that we're a model city? What's interesting is that I got a call, and Ellen's going to kill me because I haven't gotten back yet. There's a group in Florida, a very popular show, it's called Communities of Distinction. They want to do a show on our city as a model community, and they're in Florida because of all the good things we're hearing about us up here. So that's we should all give ourselves a hand that in fact, in the final analysis, what our partnership has given our city is hope and a promise of opportunities for all stakeholders. We're a very important historical road. So to the naysayers, be a stakeholders. Be part of this collective conversation for change. Let's work together for the best interest of the public. And that's simply put because, as Raleigh Green will tell you, history is just our beginning. What I've outlined for you this evening is not only our past, but where we are in the moment and where we can go as a partner in the future. So I think I haven't done too bad in terms of the time. I got you, not too bad. Which is, I know you're wondering, right? But I want to thank you for your attention. I want to thank you for your support. I want to thank you, because I can't do it without all of you. And without all of you, we don't have a model city. And I means we. And that's what it boils down to. So I want to thank you for being part of the we. And to the naysayers, come on, be part of the we. I mean, that's really what we should be doing. So thank you. God bless.
And thank you.